I'm Adrian Seet, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Number of flood victims surge in Johor, Pontian latest to be hit. And Umrah package fraud, 88 investigation papers opened. Thanks for joining us. The floods in Johor have worsened on Sunday night compared to earlier in the evening. The number of flood victims surged to 3,322 people, being housed in 45 temporary relief centres across the state as Pontian became the latest and sixth district to be hit by floods. State Disaster Management Committee Chairman Tan Sri Azmi Rohani said this is compared to the 1,805 victims who had been seeking shelter in 41 relief centres as of 7 p.m. Azmi, who is also Johor State Secretary, said besides Pontian, the other districts affected were Kota Tinggi, Kluang, Segamat, Johor Bahru and Kulai. Kota Tinggi has the highest number with 1,638 evacuees in 19 relief centres, followed by Kluang with 863 people in 13 relief centres and Johor Bahru with 733 victims in 10 relief centres. Meanwhile, there are 20 victims in a relief centre in Segamat, 62 people in a centre in Kulai and 6 people in one relief centre in Pontian, namely Sekolah Kebangsaan Melayu Raya, Pekan Nanas, which was just opened at 7:45 p.m. Azmi added several relief centres in the Johor Bahru, Kota Tinggi and Kluang districts were still updating the number of flood victims. Meanwhile, Johor Fire and Rescue Department Director Siti Rohani Nadir said continuous rain since Saturday night caused river water levels to rise. So far, the work of evacuating victims was being carried out actively in the Kota Tinggi district and several places in Johor Bahru and Machang. The number of victims is expected to increase further due to the continuous rain, which has led to the water levels of major rivers in Johor, such as Sungai Kakang and Sungai Johor, to rise. Earlier, it was reported that all 10 districts in Johor experienced continuous heavy rain since 4 a.m. on Sunday, causing roads in Kota Tinggi, namely Jalan Mawai Lama, to be accessible only by heavy vehicles, while Jalan Kota Tinggi Kluang and Jalan Kota Tinggi Kulai were closed to all vehicles after the roads were inundated with water levels reaching 0.4 meters high. Meanwhile, residents in several housing areas and villages along Sungai Johor in Kota Tinggi, especially near Bandar Kota Tinggi, have started to evacuate due to floods following continuous heavy rain and the confluence of tides. Fire and Rescue Department Zone 2 Chief Rasidi Mat Yunus said rescue efforts have been carried out since Sunday morning by various agencies, including the Fire and Rescue Department as drawn up by the District Disaster Management Committee. Water levels were rising in Kota Tinggi town as Sungai Johor was at the danger level following continuous heavy rain since early morning. Rasidi also urged those living along Sungai Johor who have not yet evacuated to do so, as it is feared that the water levels will continue to rise. As of Sunday evening, the water levels in Bandar Kota Tinggi has reached about 0.9 meters and could rise further due to continuous rain and high tides. In Pahang, a total of 691 flood victims were seeking shelter in 18 temporary relief centres as of 10 p.m. on Sunday. According to the Info Bencana JKM website, 3 districts in the state are affected, namely Maran, Rompin and Pekan. A total of 171 evacuees were housed in 8 relief centres in Maran, while 320 evacuees were taking shelter in 4 relief centres in Rompin. 200 other evacuees were placed in 5 relief centres across Pekan. The Meteorological Department said continuous rain could be expected in East Pahang and Johor until January the 8th. Earlier, residents of the Sekolah Kebangsaan Bandar Dua Paloh Hinai Teachers' Quarters in Pekan have been ordered to evacuate their homes following a landslip believed to be due to the continuous heavy rain since Saturday. Pekan District Police Chief Superintendent Muhammad Zaidi Madzin said they were alerted to the incident at 8:55 a.m. on Sunday and the residents were directed to evacuate for safety reasons. The 8 families comprising 14 adults and 10 children residing in the 4-story building are now temporarily housed at the school hostel. Zaidi added that warning signages have been put up to caution members of the public against approaching the area. According to him, the Public Works Department Structure and Slope Division would perform a thorough assessment of the land and site in order to conduct repair work. On a related matter, the Works Ministry has identified 21 locations across 7 states that were affected by natural disasters as of late on Friday. Its Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said the locations involved 8 state roads and 13 federal roads in Johor, Pahang, Kelantan, Perak, Terengganu, Kedah and Selangor.
Jadi yang itu banjir 4 kes, and then Cerun Runtuh 10, Jalan Runtuh 4 kes, dan Jalan Mendap tak ada lah. Jadi jambatan rosak runtuh 3, satu di Temeloh, di Dungun dan juga di Baling.
Nanta pointed out that Johor was the most affected state with 6 locations, followed by Pahang with 4 areas, Kelantan and Perak with 3 areas each, Kedah and Terengganu with 2 areas each, and Selangor with 1 area. Previously, he said his ministry has allocated more than 50 million ringgit to repair roads which have collapsed or been damaged because of the recent floods. He added the allocation involved 81 projects in 4 states, Kelantan, Terengganu, Johor and Pahang. The Enforcement Division of the Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry has opened 88 investigation papers in connection with the alleged Umrah package frauds. Its Minister Dato' Armizan Ali said that on December 22nd last year, a group of consumers claiming to be victims of the Umrah fraud had lodged a report to the Enforcement Division in Putrajaya and several other states.
Tapi di peringkat KPDN, saya ingin berikan komitmen selain daripada proses di TPM tersebut, di peringkat bahagian penguasa kita tidak akan berkompromi. Selagi sebaik terdapat aduan daripada pihak-pihak tertentu yang menjadi mangsa, maka kita akan membuat siasatan telus.
Armizan added that parts of the investigation have been completed and thus far a company based in Putrajaya has received a notice of prosecution made under the Consumer Protection Act, which will take place on Tuesday. He also said that the issue of fraudulent Umrah cases under his ministry is related to the consumer aspect, while the licensing aspect, criminal elements and others are under the jurisdiction of other ministries and agencies. He added that he has asked the Ministry Secretary-General to hold an urgent discussion through a committee involving relevant agencies to coordinate and identify the necessary action needed for comprehensive protection in managing the Umrah and Hajj pilgrimages. A car service centre located in a warehouse in Segambut caught fire on Sunday morning, damaging 8 vehicles. The Kuala Lumpur Fire and Rescue Department said it received a distress call at 8:08 a.m. and 25 firefighters from the Sentul, Jinjang and Hang Tuah stations were dispatched to the scene along with machineries. The fire destroyed a spare parts storeroom on level 1 and a file room on level 2, while 8 vehicles in the car service centre was 70% destroyed. The incident did not involve any victims and the cause of the fire is still being investigated. A motorcyclist suffered severe injuries after being hit by a car believed to be driven by a drunk driver in Petaling Jaya, Selangor early on Friday morning. The victim, 36-year-old Muhammad Saifuddin Nazari, was on his way home after work when the accident occurred. According to the Petaling Jaya District Police Chief, ACP Muhammad Fakhruddin Abdul Hamid, preliminary investigations found that the suspect, a 25-year-old driver, lost control of the car and collided with the victim's motorcycle from behind, causing the victim to be thrown onto the road. The victim, who suffered severe head injuries, was taken to the University Malaya Medical Centre.
Sekarang kita tunggu lagi laporan perubatan mangsa ni. Dan sekiranya kita sekarang dalam keasiasatan, setelah mendapat laporan kita akan majukan kepada pejabat teman-teman supaya mungkinlah. Di mana kita buka sesi ni buat sesi 43/1 APJ 987 dan Seksyen 45A1 APJ 97.
The suspect was remanded for a day to assist in the investigation. Tests showed that the alcohol content in the suspect's blood exceeded the allowed limit at 142 milligrams. Police are waiting to obtain the victim's medical report for further action. Meanwhile, according to the victim's family members, the victim had contacted his wife shortly before leaving for home. However, at around 2:20 a.m., they received a phone call from the medical personnel informing them about the incident.
Pukul 2.20 tu saya terus panggil abah, terus pergi hospital lah dengan adik kan. Kita orang terus pergi kecemasan, memang tengok dia kata paru-paru masa tu sebelah kanan dah kempis dan dia intubate terus. Orang ambulans pun dah bagi tahu dia dah collapse dalam 5 minit sebelum ambulans sampai.
Macam-macam situasi ada lah, mesti semua ada. So untuk mengalak tu kita pun tunggu laporan doktor untuk dia punya proses ERI dan semua.
We're going to take a short break. When we return, one killed in Bangladesh voting chaos. Stay tuned.
Kepingan daging empuk dihiasi bawang segar, bertambah nikmat dengan sos lada hitam kegemaran ramai. Prosperity Burger kembali.
Makanlah apa anda nak makan. Yang penting makan sebelum lapar, berhenti sebelum kenyang. Sentiasa sulam dengan air kosong, banyakkan sayur serta serat dan kurangkan lemak dan juga gula. Senang je kan nak amalkan pemakanan sihat. Yang penting anda enjoy makanan anda. Saksikan Hello Doktor Ahad 5.30 petang di TV3.
Mira nak kongsikan sedikit panduan keselamatan anak ketika di luar rumah. Pastikan keadaan sekeliling, pantau pergerakan anak dan jangan biarkan mereka berkeliaran jauh daripada anda. Elakkan pemakaian barang kemas yang berlebihan. Yang terakhir, boleh bawa whistle bersama. Jerit sekuat hati atau tiup whistle untuk menarik perhatian orang sekeliling sekiranya diganggu atau merasa terancam. Dapatkan pelbagai informasi bermanfaat bersama Nona setiap Ahad jam 2 petang di TV3.
Kasih sayang bukanlah boleh diukur dengan wang atau kemewahan kerana semua tu takkan pernah kekal. Jadi, kita didiklah diri kita untuk ikhlas dalam semua perkara yang kita lakukan, termasuklah dalam berkasih sayang.
Welcome back. At least 6 Palestinians were reported to have been killed by a Zionist drone raid in the city of Jenin in the occupied West Bank. According to the Health Ministry, the attack on the city, which is host to a large refugee camp, came amid multiple Zionist raids across the West Bank overnight into Sunday. The strike targeted a gathering of citizens in Jenin, with 4 brothers reportedly amongst the dead. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met senior Turkish officials in Istanbul before heading to Greece in one of his first stops on a week-long trip. In his meeting with Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Blinken emphasized the need to prevent the conflict from spreading, secure the release of hostages, expand humanitarian assistance, and reduce civilian casualties. At least 22,835 people have been killed, including 9,600 children, in the Israeli attacks on Gaza since the beginning of the Zionist rampage. Bangladesh was voting on Sunday in an election guaranteed to give a fifth term in office to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina after a boycott led by an opposition party she branded a terrorist organization. Now, early signs suggested turnout would be low, despite widespread reports of carrot and stick inducements aimed at bolstering the polls' legitimacy. Hassan's party face almost no effective rivals in the seats it is contesting, but has avoided fielding candidates in a few constituencies, an apparent effort to avoid the legislature being branded a one-party institution. Meanwhile, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, whose ranks have been decimated by mass arrests, has called for a weekend general strike and urged the public not to participate in what it calls a sham election. BNP claimed that around 25,000 opposition cadres, including the party's entire local leadership, were arrested in an ensuing crackdown. Now, the polls stayed open until 5 p.m. local time, with results expected to be released early on Monday. Meanwhile, one person was killed on Sunday morning when sporadic clashes were reported shortly after voting sessions began for Bangladesh's general elections. A local Awami League leader was stabbed to death, allegedly by supporters of an independent candidate at Tengor in Mirkadim of Munshigan's Sadar Upazila. The victim, who was a supporter for a ruling Awami League candidate, was found around 100 feet from the Rika Bibaza Government Primary School polling centre around 9:45 a.m. local time. According to authorities, supporters of the independent candidate attacked the victim and stabbed him with a sharp weapon and left him for dead. Another clash also broke out between police and the members of the BNP to Chatugram, where at least 20 to 25 BNP members tried to bring out a procession to enforce their 48-hour-long hardel in the port city, and authorities tried to stop them. Indonesian police intercepted a truck carrying 226 dogs shackled and bound for the slaughterhouse, marking their latest victory for activists opposing dog meat consumption. Its police chief, Irwan Anwar, said the vehicle was detained in Semarang, Java, late on Saturday, where imperiled dogs were found with bound legs and mouths in the truck bed. 5 crew members were arrested and they could face up to 5 years imprisoned under the animal welfare regulations. Initial investigations revealed the dogs were headed to Surakarta, where they would be slaughtered for meat consumption in Western Java. Indonesia still permits dog and cat meat sales, but campaigns against the practice have led to local bans, including in Semarang. Now, last year, an infamous animal market in Sulawesi seized dog and cat meat sales after years of activist pressure against the trade and its brutal slaughter methods. Fumio Kishida suffered yet another blow in the country's widest-ranging political scandal in decades, with the first arrest of a ruling party lawmaker on Sunday. The Japanese Prime Minister said he was aware of the detention of Yoshitaka Ikeda, a member of the Liberal Democratic Party's biggest faction, and called it very regrettable. He announced that Ikeda will be expelled from the party, marking the first arrest of a politician in a slush fund scandal. According to local media, Tokyo prosecutors detained Ikeda for allegedly failing to report $441,000 that he received from the faction. The deepening turmoil has pushed Kishida's disapproval ratings to the worst for a Japanese prime minister since 1947 and may intensify speculation that his days at the helm are numbered. Germany wins United Cup title. Sports after this breather.
It's very scary.
Korang kena tanya kenapa cerita ni ada banyak plot twist.
Sangat menyeramkan.
Memang buatkan saya terkejut dan kawan-kawan kiri kanan pun terkejut.
Filem ni banyak seram.
Boleh dikategorikan 2024 paling seram.
Amazing. Puas hati, I boleh kasih 10.
Jangan lupa saksikan Anak Perjanjian Syaitan 2 4 Januari. Tak! Aku bukan kau! Kau setan!
Tanyalah Ustaz setiap Selasa, 2 Januari, pakaian ketika solat. 9 dan 16 Januari, darah haid bahagian 1 dan 2. 23 Januari, darah istihadah. 30 Januari, wiladah dan nifas. Tanyalah Ustaz biar tahu jangan keliru di TV3 dan TV9. Stream juga melalui Tuntun.
Mira nak kongsikan sedikit panduan keselamatan anak ketika di luar rumah. Pastikan keadaan sekeliling, pantau pergerakan anak dan jangan biarkan mereka berkeliaran jauh daripada anda. Elakkan pemakaian barang kemas yang berlebihan. Yang terakhir, boleh bawa whistle bersama. Jerit sekuat hati atau tiup whistle untuk menarik perhatian orang sekeliling sekiranya diganggu atau merasa terancam. Dapatkan pelbagai informasi bermanfaat bersama Nona setiap Ahad jam 2 petang di TV3.
We begin sports with tennis, the United Cup. Germany clinched the title with a 2-1 comeback victory over Poland at the Can Roswell Arena in Sydney on Sunday night. World number 1, Swiatek gave Poland the early 1-0 lead after dominating former number 1 Angelique Kerber 6-3, 6-love in the women's singles match. Two-time NATO ATP Finals champion Alexander Zverev saved 2 match points against Hubert Hurkacz 6-7, 7-6, 6-4 to level the score, forcing a deciding mixed doubles. Zverev, Swiatek and Hurkacz took to the court once more along with Laura Siegmund, Zverev's partner, as both pairs fought for a maiden title for their nation. The match ended 6-4, 5-7, 10-4 as the German pair stepped on the gas in the championship tiebreak, sealing the title for the Germans. Still on tennis, the Brisbane International. Grigor Dimitrov won his first ATP Tour title since 2017 after beating Holger Rune in the final on Sunday. The first set saw all the drama as both players had multiple break points, but it was Dimitrov who prevailed and claimed the set 7-6. The Bulgarian then showcased some of his best performances since 2017 in the second set and clinched a 6-4 victory, a battle that lasted for 2 hours and 17 minutes. The win secured Dimitrov's 9th career title, marking his first since winning the year-end ATP Finals trophy in London. In the women's singles event, world number 4 Elena Rybakina captured her 6th career title after defeating second-ranked Aryna Sabalenka in the final. The Kazakhstani charged out of the blocks, dominating the first set 6-love and continuing the form through the second set 6-3, winning in just over 17 minutes. The victory was her third hard-court title and first since defeating Sabalenka to win Indian Wells in March last year. On to football, the English FA Cup. Armando Broja sent Chelsea into the fourth round with a 4-0 win over Preston North End at the Stamford Bridge Stadium on Sunday. After a frustrating first half from the Mauricio Pochettino side, Borja broke the deadlock in the 58th minute with a deft header from Malo Gusto's cross. The Blues doubled the lead as substitute Thiago Silva headed home a corner kick 7 minutes later, with Raheem Sterling extending the score to 3-0 in the 79th minute, unleashing a stunning free kick from the edge of the penalty box. Enzo Fernandez finally put the result beyond doubt 5 minutes from time as he tapped the ball into an empty net, sealing a convincing 4-0 victory. Chelsea can now turn their attention to the first leg of their Carabao Cup semi-final at Middlesbrough on Wednesday. Up next, 16 kilograms of ganja seized, 4 detained. Stay tuned.
Terbaru di Buletin.
Terkenal sebagai pejuang rakyat. Suara rakyat. Sekarang ni kita nak kena cari Nana dengan cepat.
Siapa mati ada orang lain ganti.
Aku ada jalan keluar.
Muat turun dan layan tonton sekarang. Semua favourite anda di sini.
Makanlah apa anda nak makan. Yang penting makan sebelum lapar, berhenti sebelum kenyang. Sentiasa sulam dengan air kosong, banyakkan sayur serta serat dan kurangkan lemak dan juga gula. Senang je kan nak amalkan pemakanan sihat. Yang penting anda enjoy makanan anda. Saksikan Hello Doktor Ahad 5.30 petang di TV3.
Kita bertemu dalam My Quran Time.
114 surah, 6,236 ayat, 30 juzu. Sesiapa yang membaca satu huruf, maka baginya 10 kali ganda kebaikan. Jadi, sudahkah anda membaca Al-Quran hari ini? My #Quran Time 2.0 setiap hari 12.30 hari di TV9, juga di saluran Astro 149.
Thank you for staying with us. 4 suspects, including a woman, were arrested and 16 kilograms of ganja worth 50,000 ringgit seized following 2 separate raids in Kampung Kuala Alo, Simpang Kuala in Kedah on Thursday. State Police Chief Dato' Fizul Saleh said the suspects aged between 24 and 43 would be remanded until January the 10th. During the first raid at 1:30 a.m. on Thursday, a team that included officers from the Narcotics Criminal Investigations Department from the Kedah Police Headquarters intercepted a Perodua Arus carrying 2 suspicious men. Upon inspection, they discovered 6 slabs of ganja weighing 6.2 kilograms worth over 19,000 ringgit found in the rear seat. Following the first arrest, police carried out a second raid at 4:10 a.m. and flagged down a BMW car with a man and woman inside and found 10 slabs of ganja weighing 10 kilograms worth 31,000 ringgit. All 3 men who were arrested had previous criminal records and tested positive for drugs. The case is being investigated under the Dangerous Drugs Act. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC has detained a chairwoman of a charity organisation in Terengganu on the suspicion of falsifying details in a back-to-school program application document. Now, the document was reportedly submitted to a government-linked company in the state. According to a source, the woman is said to have submitted a request for 5,000 ringgit in aid to be distributed to 100 ASNAF students, but checks later found that the students never received the financial assistance and the back-to-school program was never held. The suspect in her early 40s, who is also the head of a political party wing in Terengganu, was arrested at about noon on Sunday at the MACC office in Terengganu when she presented herself to submit her statement. She will be brought to the Kuala Terengganu Sessions Court on Monday morning to be charged. State MACC Director Hazrul Shazrin Abdullah Yazid confirmed the arrest under Section 18 of the MACC Act. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's explore a new tourist attraction in Kuala Lumpur, the 99 Wonderland Park in Kepong, where visitors can immerse themselves in a mesmerizing musical light and sound show at night. Now, the park is the first recreational park in KL featuring LED lights and rare animals or birds with its beautiful landscape. With that, I'm Adrian Seet. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe, Malaysia.